So they could literally be at any place on the property or on the island. But these guys are native to Hawaii. And we do bring them food and more water and other food as well. So these guys are wild, but spoiled wild. I will be your tour guide and driver for the Hollywood Movie Sites Tour this morning. Just a heads up before we pull out, in case you're expecting something like Disney or Universal Studios, you're not there. However, I will show you some of the most beautiful scenery in the world. couldn't see, as I said, tons and tons of trees, computer generated. The flames on the sides of them were real because those are flame sources, not TPs, but it's easy to pick them out right there by noticing that. So inside of these ponds to our left-hand side, we have some indentions. They're loading up the boat to try and get the dinosaurs on it, and the volcano's erupting, and it consumes the island. Kind of hard to tell because that rain cloud is still there. Did you see that mountain in between us? Volcano. But it's not a volcano. Computer, you know, they add, delete, move some places around. They might have certain things in some places, use part of it, put something else in place or on top of something else to where it looks like a different place. Take, for example, do any of you notice the statue beside of us? Ladies and gentlemen, we are now in another country. Welcome to the Easter Islands, also known as Rapa Nui. And I welcome you to the most famous dead log in all of Hawaii. Now, once we go past this tree, you'll be able to see where they were hillside and made the decision to hide underneath of the log. This was the original log. Of course, in time has deteriorated in size. We do have a similar log at our other stop where we get out for photos. Now, any Lost fans on board? All right. So I'm sure you enjoyed the bunker. This is one of the more memorable scenes from the first season. You'll see this sign down here, but if you look up the hill, you will see Hurley's Golf Course. So for those of you that are not tracked, now to our right-hand side, we'll have one footprint, but then once I start to move forward, you'll see that we have two more on the left-hand side. These are the footprints of Godzilla. They used to be 6 feet deep originally, but because we're an active cattle ranch, it was dangerous for them. They were falling in them and getting injured. So they had to fill them in. And I know that they just walk through them now like they're not even there. But because so many of them were getting injured, they continue to tell me there was a barbecue. They fed everybody for free for a few days. But they did fill them in. I know for a fact they filled them in as I've seen them walk through them without getting injured. The free food, questionable, but you know, nobody will tell me any different. Now, any chance we have any Nicki Minaj fans on board? Everybody, that's amazing. So, she did come up on a list of people that have filmed here, and in her music video, Spaceship, she is on top of this hill as well. On top of a block that she sits on, she is there in her music video. Coming up next, I do apologize that our cattle get destructive and occasionally knock down the signs. So this is from Mike and Dave Need Wedding Dates, and there was a sign here to our left-hand side. So if those of you are not familiar with Mike and Dave Need Wedding Dates, they are coming out because one of their sisters is getting married. They don't have dates, so they place an ad online, meet some girls. They come out, the girls are doing all kind of stunts, but they're all riding on the property and having a good old time. Now in the movie, they do not advertise or portray that they're at Kualoa Ranch, because if you see 4,000 acres and four-wheelers, you think the same thing, right? You're gonna ride all over the place. You notice those UTVs. That's the ATV tour. They stay on the road 10 to 15 feet from each other. Not gonna ride. It would be too destructive to the land and dangerous for the people as well as the cattle. So that was Mike and Dave, the wedding date. Next we have Yumi and Dupree. This has Kate Hudson in it and she's getting married. Both Wilson happens to be friends with the groom and he's coming out for their wedding. He lands on the wrong island. So the filming they did here on this property was where that small plane that they used to go find him on the other island, they landed right here. So it's filmed all right here in this area. Even the production crew got permission for their plane to come and go right here on this very road. So very highly used road. And the Jeep that they also filmed, the red Jeep that they used to look for him in this field as well as this road, and their wedding cottage is over at the Maliki Pond on the other side of the property. Now coming up next, this whole valley to our left-hand side is now a tribe in New Guinea, where their village is. Are any of you familiar with Kippendorf's tribe with Richard Dreyfuss? Any chance? Yes. Oh, history. Normally I average 3 to 5 people a week. You're number 9, sir. Thank you for joining. All right, so Richard Dreyfuss is an archaeologist in this movie, and he has been given grant money to study a tribe in New Guinea. Now, him and his family have been to New Guinea several times. He can't actually find this tribe, but he's got to give lectures about his studies. So he paints his family up to look like this tribe in New Guinea, and then they want to give him more grant money. But this whole area here was the village and the tribe in New Guinea that they made up. Coming up next, I'm pretty sure most of you have seen this movie. If not, it has been on the Comedy Channel a lot recently. 50 First Dates with Adam Sandler and Drew Barrymore.
Yep.
And Willie the Penguin, his red shirt is definitely faded. So anytime Lucy is driving her yellow Jeep on a gravel road, guess where she is?
Here.
She's on our property, mostly on this road, but on our property anytime it's a gravel road and she's driving in the film. So he would like to talk to her and he tries to come up with a bunch of creative ways. First, Willie, his penguin, he puts him in the road. Well, she's driving along, drops a CD or something, goes to pick it up and drives Willie over. So he doesn't get to talk to her that time. The next time, he decides to play fight with his buddy Ulu. They're kind of where this pile of rocks is on the right-hand side. She sees that, she stops her Jeep, she grabs her bat, she starts whacking Ulu and chases him all the way down the field to the gate down there. Now, the Hukilau Cafe that's in this movie was filmed over at the Mali'i Pond as well, but it's not an actual cafe there. The producers went to the Hukilau Cafe in Laie, which is in North Shore, for breakfast one morning and got the idea to put a local place in the movie because it is in a house and they only do breakfast and lunch. But real place in Laie, filmed over here on the Mali'i Pond. Now that non-smelling piggery was all in front of these coconut trees. That whole set that was recycled into the piggery. That whole building structure was all right there, and the helicopter was there. So in this part of Jumanji, this is where they send the girl over to distract the guards so they can steal the helicopter and get out of there. And the dance, the dance fight scene, all filmed all right there. Now they were here for over 3 weeks. During one of their filming breaks, Kevin Hart and The Rock ended up on one of the tour buses. So sometimes you never know what will happen. Like where that group of UTVs is right now, just yesterday there was a wedding. So random things happen a lot around here. If you follow the grass up into the lower tree line right here, you see what looks like a rooftop and it looks really small, right? It's in the lower tree line. That's the roof of the gyrosphere station where those giant cylinders were released. That's about the size of that monkey pod tree. The whole station is huge and was the size of the monkey pod tree that we were standing underneath in the check-in area. These buses cannot make it through those roads and up those hills to get to where the gyrosphere station is. And it would make this tour 5.5 to 6 hours to get to those places. Now this hill right here was also used in the filming of Pearl Harbor. That's where the young boys were on top of the hill and the Japanese aircraft was flying over them in Pearl Harbor, the movie. Coming up next, we have Wind Talkers. Anybody familiar with this protecting the Navajo codebreakers, but the Navajo codebreakers are actually helping them because they're the only ones that understand this language that they speak. They're able to speak freely over live radio waves, and they are the communication system for the military. This is how the Battle of Saipan was won. During the filming of this movie, there were no tours, 280 live explosives, and 750 extras. So a lot going on with that. And in order for them to do that, they had to purchase every seat on every tour that couldn't happen during that time because of the safety and because that's how the property is taken care of. So also decisions made in the contracts. Now, I know only a few of you said that you have seen Triple Frontier with Ben Affleck. This is on Netflix. He is part of a special ops team, and those duffel bags they're carrying are full of money that they've taken from the drug cartels that they're fighting with. So you see this shack up here on the hill, and then this other lower structure. That lower structure, believe it or not, is made of styrofoam, and there used to be 10 more of those. This is where the helicopter crashes. They accidentally kill a young boy in this village in South America, and because they no longer have transportation, they purchase some of the donkeys from the villager there in order to carry those duffel bags with them out of this village in South America. And we'll continue on with that movie when we're climbing back up the hill later on. Now, coming up next, all until 2 weeks ago, our gorilla from Mighty Joe Young sat underneath this tree, but they moved him to our other stop in case anybody would like to take a picture with him. But hopefully we'll have a replica made so we can have another gorilla underneath the tree where he was in the movie. Now, for 3 whole years, there was a giant hospital scene that took up this whole area behind the sign. 3 years it was there until they filmed Wind Talkers. It was accidentally blown up. But if you look to the right-hand side in the lower tree line, you'll see what looks like scaffolding with red tips. Those are the radio towers from Jurassic World. If you continue to look in that direction after we pass the tree, you will see the bunker from Jurassic World that the lava was flowing over, that they're trying to climb out of, and that's also where Blue's cage is, because remember, volcano, not mountain, but it's a mountain, not a volcano. The optical illusions. Now, believe it or not, this is the least bumpiest and dustiest tour on this side of the property. Now, as we continue to go through these areas, you will notice that a lot of these trees look alike. And if you take a look at them, you'll see these green balls hanging from them. These are kukui nut trees. It'll be real easy to see on these next couple that we're going past. This is the Hawaii state tree. It's also known as the candle nut. So with that house plant, they'd strike their fire, light these, and this is how the Hawaiians would have light at night. It was also used as an ancient medicine, also used as a moisturizer for skin and hair. And you'll even see sometimes people with a kukui nut lay on. Those are kukui nuts, not macadamia nuts. Now, if you use it as a medicine, you'd want to stay home for a few days. I'm going to share a bad joke with you. It's not mine. I stole it from somebody else. If you eat too much kukui, you will go kukui, and you'd want to stay home for a few days. So, speaking of homes, these are the Hawaiian homes in this area of an ahupua'a. They're not grass shacks, they're not huts. A Hawaiian home is known as a hale. And you see there's a different amount of rocks underneath them, and there's some significance with that. The ones with the most amount of rocks is where the chief would live. The ones with the least amount of rocks is where the commoner would live. The ones with the next amount of rocks is where a kahuna, and that would be a priest. So either a priest would live there or somebody of a high status. Now, as we come around these curves, you'll see some of Hollywood's fine artwork. Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you to the Boneyard from Kong Skull Island. This is where Kong Skull Island was filmed. As you see, our gorilla from Mighty Joe Young is there, as well as a replica log for Jurassic Park. And I did mention artwork. The majority of these, the log is real wood. The majority of these other props are made from styrofoam and chicken wire.
your step. Yeah. I know, we're trying to make a video. That's why I plan on going anyway.
In 1793, someone came over with a few of these on their boat. The king fell in love with them and wanted to domesticate this animal. And like I said, he fell in love with them, so he put a law on this animal, which is a kaʻaʻawa. So like I said, kaʻaʻawa is a law. And the law is that no one would harm or bring any ill will to the animal. His name is Dakota, and he's actually a local guy from Waimanalo that is just south of Kaʻaʻawa. Tree line where these cows are, they also did some additional filming for finding Ohana. There is another type of cattle there that I may not have mentioned earlier. See the guy sitting down? That's ground beef. Coming up on our left-hand side, another movie with Dwayne Johnson, also known as The Rock. Journey to Mysterious Island. A lot of people think these are dinosaur eggs, but as you see, it's from a giant lizard, and then you see the lizard here in the photo. There are a few eggs here, and there are a few eggs in the bunker as well. So a few here and a few there. In the movie, there's hundreds. Computer generation. They're very good with adding, subtracting, and multiplying, right? They should teach math almost. Almost. Now, directly in front of us, we do have the Pacific Ocean, and that is not computer generated. But specifically to this area in front of us, this is where the humpback whale migrate every year. So starting in November, December, and all the way through March, they will migrate to this area. They are an endangered species and protected by the National Wildlife Society. So usually we do have a group that will come in January and February that does some well watching from the bunker here. So I know there were only a few people that said they saw Triple Frontier. So for the rest of you, here comes your spoiler alert. Remember I said they were just the dummies that carry those duffel bags with money out of that village in South America. Now you also this lower rock structure that's beside of this mountain. That's built from cement, wood, and chicken wire. It's built to look like the side of a mountain, which it looks like the side of this mountain, but in the movie, it is a cliff in South America. So this is where they're walking with those donkeys. And for those of you that have seen the movie, you'll recognize this. But like I said, in the movie, it's a cliff. So right where that wood piece is, that's where the donkey slips and falls miles and miles down into the ravine. And that duffel bag full of money goes everywhere. If it was a cliff, we'd be on a magical bus floating in midair. Not a cliff made from wood, cement, and chicken wire. This wall right here of the bunker was a green screen, and that's how they created that illusion.
What you eating?
Hamburger.
A boiga?
Burger.
What is that called?
Hamburguesa.
Chicken sandwich.
Sandwich.
Boiger.
Sandwich the boiger.
Time to eat.